over 4 centuries, they have come and gone from Gloucester Harbor.
It's America's oldest seaport.
The waves, the storms, fortunes made, and all those faces. Always a gamble, always hard work, and always a classic piece of Americana, where artists and fishermen have celebrated nature's bounty.
Settled by the English in 1623, so we recently celebrated our 400th anniversary as a fishing community. Of course, the natives go back for thousands of years before that.
Justin Dimitri is an historian at Maritime Gloucester, where inside and out on the dock, you really get a feel of the old days.
This town, from the very start, was settled to fish.
But the fleets are smaller these days, the jobs fewer, even the old watering holes disappearing.
When I was young, there were probably 15 or 20 bars just like this around town. But fishing was literally 10 times as many fishing boats when I was a kid compared to now.
We have a small fleet. Those that are left are trying to keep the tradition going.
Now, it's a tourist mecca, only 30 miles from Boston, off in the distance. But for the locals, it maintains that sort of perfect isolation.
We were an island because we had one bridge. 1950s brought the highway in, so things got a little more homogenized. But that spirit still remains. The grandparents or great-grandparents remember when going over the bridge was a big deal. Gloucester, for a long, long time, was sticking out in the middle of the ocean, and they did it their own way.
Lighthouse has been here for a good long time. 10 Point Island, it's been a number of things. There used to be buildings all over it. Now, as far as I can see, it's a lighthouse and poison ivy.
I guess you sometimes just take things for granted, you don't realize what you got in your own backyard.
I love it out here. It's funny because people will say that when they're traveling, they'll just be like, it's so beautiful out here. And I'm like, it is. I chose to live here because I just think it's such an incredible place.
And here, you also find incredibly interesting people.
One day I'm speaking in front of the UN, the next day I'm filling a hole in the road.
My parents had a house in Annisquam. The Rockholm Lodge was behind it, and Lindsay and Krause were working on Rodgers and Hammerstein's Sound of Music, and they used to be playing in the piano and singing late at night. And while I was sleeping, I'd be repetitively hearing these songs, and I'd get up in the morning and I'd be humming, and I hummed them for a year and a half before they hit Broadway. Nobody knew where the songs were coming from.
We have a bad rep as being, kind of crusty, but you get that first. We're also the first people to help you out. We're very proud of our town. We'll go out of our way to show you what's special about it. And that's not just folks like me who do it for a living, but I grew up in a gritty neighborhood full of unofficial tour guides.
And those tour guides of Gloucester will send you off to some wonderful corners of Cape Ann. Sticking out into the Atlantic, the natural scenery is just so special. Makes you want to just grab a bench and take it all in. The waves crashing on the waterfront, the old leaning buildings. Music of the rising and falling dock ramps. Even the simple act of raising the old Blindman Canal drawbridge is addicting to watch, listen to. A little rust, some salt air, the perfect recipe for a symphony on this treasure built in 1907. Nearby, you find one of the most famous sights in Gloucester, the Fisherman's Memorial. The Man at the Wheel was erected here in 1925. It's surrounded by the names of local sailors lost over the years.
It's not the whole list. That is a good representation of what we estimate to be about 10,000 lost fishermen in this town.
It's a powerful place, for sure.
It's a wonderful sculpture because there are many people, this is their livelihood, the fishermen of Gloucester. For them to be memorialized like this, because many of them lost their lives.
Nearby, another piece of art, the Fishermen's Wives Memorial, was installed in 2001.
Well, it's just wonderful that after so many years, they decided to put the women and the children because they were just as important. They had their poor husbands out there to sea, never knowing they're going to come back.
Included in the list of fishermen lost, the crew of the Andrea Gale. Their story was captured in the book and film, The Perfect Storm.
It's being called the worst storm in recorded history.
Hurricane Grace is accelerating off of Sable Island.
Once it starts, no force on Earth can stop it.
These storms have collided. You're gonna run right into this thing.
Are they okay?
No one knows.
Please, God, get them there.
Call it the perfect storm.
The film was shot here in town, much of it centered on the Crow's Nest, a classic blue-collar bar.
True working man's bar.
Greg Souza is owner of the Crow's Nest. His good friend and brother-in-law, Bobby Shatford, went down on the boat.
One of the real guys in the boat was my brother-in-law, and Mark Wahlberg played him. So Mark met the family first. It was my wife's brother, who I knew before I knew my wife. I went to school with Bobby. We grew up together.
The film and the story are very much a part of the soul of this town.
Fog's just lifting. Throw off your bow line, throw off your stern. Blow your air horn and throw a wave to the lighthouse keeper's kid on Thatcher Island. Guys are busy, you're in charge. We're going back out.
What?
I'm headed east, the Flemish Cap.
You're going away again? Flemish Cap is almost off the charts.
That's where the fish are.
Yet the interior bar shots were not done here.
There was a replica built down the street for the exterior shots. The interior bar was a sound stage on Hollywood. They were only here for about 3.5 weeks.
The film crew would hang out at the bar each night after shooting, which is still a fun place to visit. Greg proudly shares his scrapbook and endless stories.
Mark was one of the good guys. That's at the set playing ball, just playing pickup, playing 2-on-2.
He loves to talk about his mother-in-law, Ethel, the heart and soul of the bar, a classic Gloucester mom, played in the film by actress Janet Wright.
Ethel, she was old school Yankee. If she didn't like you, you were in trouble. But if she liked you, she liked you. These guys, these are hard bunches. A lot of these guys are kind of hard guys, but they all called her Ma. She sort of cooked for them and would sort of straighten them out if they needed straightening out. We were talking to Janet. There was a scene where she was smoking. She was smoking a Canadian Players, I think it was. And Marion just sort of half jokingly said, "My mother smokes Pall Malls." And the next day, Janet on the set had a pack of Pall Malls. Mark had, for some reason, a golf cart, even though he didn't need it, but he drove her around in the golf cart because Mark played her son, played Bobby. That was the last day she ever came out of the house. She was very ill. About a month and a half after that, she was dead. She never saw the movie.
They come down here as sort of a pilgrimage for those who really love the movie.
Other scenes were filmed on the pier, operated by Maritime Gloucester. The museum and pier lets you see a working fishing community up close.
We understand what brings people to Gloucester. That's the authenticity. When this museum was founded, one of the major factors was to get people on the waterfront.
Just as popular in town are the whale tours.
Whale watching has been going on here since 1979, and it was the second port on the East Coast.
Cindy McInnes works with Seven Seas Whale Watch trips.
Mostly we see humpback whales. Sometimes we get fin whales. Those are the second largest.
We're gonna take a 3-hour boat ride on the Privateer 4.
She invented the whale mobile that takes the whales right into the classroom. Well, inflatable whales. Kids love learning about these creatures, on land or on the water. No one tires of seeing these giants.
I think a lot of people come to Gloucester to whale watch these incredible animals. Hopefully can inspire people to make a connection with the wild world.
There's over 80 different species of whales. It's just fascinating. For me, it's the adventure.
Dr. Ian Kerr runs Ocean Alliance in Gloucester, a nonprofit group doing remarkable research on whales, including health assessments using a new tool called SnotBot.
How do you find out if an animal's healthy or not? How do you find out if a population is healthy or not? Well, typically, you need a tissue sample or some sort of sample from the animal. But the way we would collect a tissue sample was literally chase an animal down the street, chasing whales down, trying to get samples. And it was the end of a long day. I hadn't got any samples. I'm sitting there with my little biopsy gun to get a tissue sample. The whale dove just out of range. I was incredibly frustrated. And to add insult to injury, I got covered in a cloud of whale snot. And it was sticky and it was smelly. And I was like, oh my, and it was hot, you know what I mean? And then suddenly I smelt an idea. I thought, wow, if you're sticky and smelly, then maybe that means there's some biological information there. And the problem was, how do we get to the whale? How do we get the sample without stressing the whale, without racing down in a big boat? What we actually did was literally put some petri dishes on a drone. And now we could just fly these petri dishes down. When the whales exhale, they're exhaling up to 200 miles an hour, and they're blowing all this sort of priceless biological information onto a petri dish. We called it Snotbot. You know what? Kids love it, and I hate to say it, you won't forget it.
Using 3D printing, the team has developed drone-based tools to drop sensors on the backs of whales.
The team at Woods Hole and others developed these things they call data tags. They're like mini computers. So these give you time, depth, speed, acceleration, and they literally stick on the whale with a suction cup. We came up with our lawn dart design here. We clip this. Here's our, all of this is 3D printed in-house. Come up in the drone and see that drops off, and this is stuck on the whale. We download the data, and we really, for the first time, think of like a Fitbit diving into the abyss with the whales and seeing how they live their daily lives with these simple tags.
All this is being developed in waterfront buildings, where long ago, other historic innovations were born.
And we'd come by these buildings on the whale watch boat, and I would always say, wow, that would make an amazing sort of oceanographic innovation center.
It was here, at the old Tar and Wonson copper paint factory, one of the greatest breakthroughs in marine engineering took place in 1863.
They developed the first commercially viable anti-fouling paint. And I think in many ways they were sort of the oil that lubricated America's first industrial revolution, which was commercial fishing.
The buildings are an icon on the waterfront, but falling apart when Ocean Alliance bought them and started restoration.
I felt that Ocean Alliance would be a perfect group to maintain the historic facade, to open the site up for the community.
The buildings really tell the ongoing story of all the innovation that has come out of Gloucester. 1713, Gloucester shipbuilder Andrew Robinson builds the early fishing schooner. 1849, Gorton's pioneers salt-dried codfish packing. 1922, Clarence Birdseye develops a way to quick-freeze fish. That same year, Gloucester resident John Hayes Hammond invents radio control of moving bodies.
Gloucester was an innovation city. You know what I mean? Hammond, Tar, Birdseye. And I really think we're moving forward in that tradition.
We're very concerned about preserving our working waterfront.
We're sort of losing treasures like this. We're losing these icons. The waterfront is being bought up.
Somehow, saving the paint factory can become a catalyst for saving this town's past and future.
The idea is the outside will speak to the past and the inside will speak to the future.
So much at stake out here on this wonderful corner of America. Many still remember we almost lost the home of famed 19th century artist Fitzhenry Lane on top of Duncan's Point. But it still stands overlooking the waterfront. He still sits there, painting away. Places this old, this special, simply must be preserved. The legacy of lost souls and the community out here on Cape Ann they loved must be saved. The harbor, the boats, the waves, and the faces of the sea. Small Town Americana, where they that go down to the sea in ships will be remembered for the ages.
When you grow up in the fishing industry, you grow up with that sense of fatality. You don't know any different. We all grew up with the reality that we might not see our dads again. We all have friends and relatives, people that we knew that are on that list. The list doesn't end with the perfect storm.